My man,
Can you hear me?
I sure can. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's so great to chat with you.
Is this distracting?
A little bit. It's beautiful. I love it.
You want me to change it?
No, no, no. It's great. No,
Okay.
no, no. Yeah, it's great.
It's one cool thing about Zoom that some of the other, I don't use Zoom that much. And I'm like, oh, look at all the backgrounds I could pick. Well, that looks good.
Yeah,
That
that
one.
one looks good. Yeah, I like it.
I'll leave that
I
one.
like it.
I
Your
live near
state
the beach.
has, sorry, what's that?
I live near the beach, so I figured what the heck.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Are you close to Miami?
Pretty close, about an hour.
About an hour? Okay, gotcha. Yeah,
Uh,
your state has a team in the Stanley Cup Finals again for the
yeah.
sixth year running.
Isn't that interesting? And we have places to play hockey in this. It's very hot and humid here. It's so fun.
Yeah,
That
amazing.
hockey's important down here.
Amazing. That's
I
awesome.
I know that's your passion, and every time I listen to your interviews, you bring up some of the exciting things that you're finding out about a team in your hometown and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Trying to talk about as much as I can. We're
yeah.
not here to talk about me or my hockey team. We're here to talk about you and your amazing new book. I can't believe you wrote a book. I can believe you wrote a book. I should rephrase that.
Well, I'll tell you, but once we get started, once we hit record, I'll tell you how it started, how it
Yeah.
came about. I'm not a book writer, but I'm
Yeah.
very,
Have you written one? Is this your first? Like, have you ever written a book on any topic?
I wrote articles, but I never wrote a book
Okay.
in
That's
my life.
kind of what I thought.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's
Um,
pretty unique.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've yet to read it. I'm gonna buy it. I will definitely read it, but the sample on Amazon is great because I can just download the table of contents and I just highlighted a few key points that we can bring up. And
All right.
obviously you wrote the book, so you'll be able to riff on that, but I'll just bring up different, chapter ideas and we can just talk about that. But yeah, I hope it's a great success for you, man.
Thank you. I do too. I do
That's
too.
awesome.
I'm excited.
I am going on a trip for the next few days. Today might be really busy, but I will try my best to get the episode done by today. If not, I'll send you all the raw materials and I'll finish it when I get back on Sunday. But as always, when you get any of the material, it's yours. You can do whatever you like with it. You don't have to do anything with but just it's shared content. If you want to use it for something, go for it. If you don't, that's fine too. So yeah,
Yep. No problem. No problem
okay,
there.
good. I mean, you're good for about an hour.
Yeah. As long as you want to go, I'm free.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Awesome. I will get you introduced. I used the new introduction from your book, so I got rid of the old one
Okay.
that we were using before. I figured to use the most updated one from the book, and yeah, I'll get you introduced so we can roll.
All right. Great.
Awesome.
Ready to go.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Boundless Body Radio. I'm your host, Casey Ruff, and today we have another amazing guest to reintroduce to you now. John LaSpina is a returning guest on our show. Be sure to check out his multiple appearances on episode 575, episode 582, episode 606, and episode 718 of Boundless Body Radio. Wow, that's awesome. John LaSpina is a 58-year-old retired middle school teacher of 34 years. John is the author of his new book, The Carnivore Teacher: Eat with Purpose, Live with Power, Inspire Endlessly, which is now available on Amazon. The Carnivore Teacher dismantles decades of dietary lies and leads you back to the powerful truth that you were made to thrive on animal based foods. This is not a fad, it is a return to ancestral wisdom proven by science, personal experience, and thousands of success stories. John combines rigorous research with lived experience to guide readers to the physical, mental, and spiritual transformation that happens when you nourish your body with the way nature intended. Whether you're suffering from chronic illness, feeling stuck in your health journey, or simply want to elevate your performance, this book offers practical tools, myth busting insights, and empowering truths to help you reclaim your health. John argues that you are not broken, you are simply misfed. John LaSpina, what an absolute honor it is to welcome you back to Boundless Body Radio.
Thank you, Casey. How four times, five times I was on? I'm honored
So
to
we
come
met
back.
we mentioned the four, and then we do that Christmas episode that always
Right.
drops on Christmas Day. And I hate dropping an episode with a guest, like a new episode with a guest that that we've hosted on the show for the first time. And so I always like to go back and look through all the different podcasts that I really enjoyed over the year and release a re-release one that we'd already recorded. And the episode that you and I did where we talked about the practical tips and tricks for cooking and cooking equipment, I thought was fabulous. It was my favorite episode of 2024. So we released that one of yours as well. So yeah, technically this is like your sixth time.
All right. I hope I'm not a bother. I'll come back as many times
Absolutely
as you'll
not.
have me. I love it on here.
You are not a bother. We love learning from you. As a carnivore teacher, your amazing channel on YouTube, which we didn't mention in the introduction, is amazing, inspires people all over the world. I love your comments. You comment all the time on our shows, which I really appreciate. And I was scrolling around on social media a few weeks ago, and I see this post from you. They're like, hey, I wrote a book. It's available now on Amazon. I was like, what? No prep, nothing. It was just like, oh yeah, I have a book. Like, that's amazing. Good for you.
Been working on it. Just didn't talk about it that much. I wrote 8 health. If you've ever heard of the publication called Healthy You, HealthiYoo. It's a publication. It's free, and I wrote 8 articles. The first one I wrote a few years ago, and it got me kind of going. I'm like, I could do this because I can type as fast as I think. I'm one of those really fast typists. I don't even have to look at the keys. I just was a good typer. And I just spit that one out real fast, and it got a lot of great reviews. I'm like, let me do another one, and then another one, and then another one. And as time went on, I'm like, I wonder if I should pull these together and write a book. It's pretty much written. So I decided to get organized and make folders on my laptop and start putting a book together, which was a lot more work than I thought it would be. It turned out to,
Every author says that.
my gosh. And I probably rushed this one. I was so excited that I was getting near the end that I pushed it. And the first edition came out, and then I got, I got my not for sale copy, in the mail, and I'm going through it. I'm like, oh, I forgot the medical disclaimer. So I unpublished it. I put a second edition out. That's the one you bought, I hope. And I formatted the back a little bit so it's more centered, and just made a little. I learned a lot in this self-publishing through Amazon along the way. If anybody wants any tips or tricks, you know how you learn through mistakes. I learned how to publish a book. So it's not a big book. It's a little paperback book, 170 some pages, but I have so much to say, as you can see from my YouTube videos. I can't shut up about this wonderful way of eating that has healed my body, my mind, my emotions. So many people that I know, it has transformed their life. I just can't keep my mouth shut. And I figured, let me make a book now and have my name behind something that I can promote. And so that's how that came into being so far. And I'm planning a second book. Oh, by the way,
Of course you are.
because I wrote the book, a workbook. Let me see if I can get this in here. I made a workbook companion. Come on, green screen. There we go. This is the companion to the book, and it goes chapter by chapter for the book. And if anybody's really interested in applying my concepts, because I'm a teacher, I'm really good at making worksheets. They can, write their thoughts out and answer questions and apply the concepts from each chapter. There's 22 chapters. I've got 22 sections in the workbook. And I'm also working on the audio book portion with this
Wow.
microphone here. And
Yeah.
that, you want to talk about rejection and stress from Amazon. I mean, I can't
Oh
tell
my
you how
God.
difficult it is. We can go into that later if you want, but there will be an audio version of my book as well for those people that I know a lot of people that don't have time or don't like to read and they like to just put it on in the car. So
I wish I had more time to read, and it's just so much easier for me to listen to stuff, and like you said, put it on the car when I'm out on a walk getting some sunshine. It's a lot easier to consume content that way. So I appreciate you doing all of that. You're not the first person to do a companion workbook, but you're one of the first people to do one so quickly that is available as soon as the book is available. Seemingly, like that's really quick to be able to turn that around. And most authors that I've talked to say that the writing process is like the easiest part of writing a book. Like, that part is easy. Everything after that is really hard, and doing the audiobook is incredibly challenging.
it really is. It's the formatting and the editing. And then it gets rejected. You have these little, I don't know if anybody's ever listening who's ever published a book. You submit parts of it or all of it, and you have to go through all these little fine checks and tunes, and they come back rejected. It needs this, change that, change this. And sometimes I was ready to just throw all the papers and everything up in the air. I'm like, this,
Wow.
sometimes I did quit for the day. I said, I'll just do this tomorrow. I can't stand this anymore. And then I come back tomorrow with a fresh, perspective.
Yeah.
I get high creating things. I love to make things. That's why I really get into making my videos. And when I made this book and it actually came out and I have the physical copy, uh, there's just something exciting about the fact that I made this and I got this information from so many other people that I attribute in the back of my book. I can't wait for you to see the back of the book because you're the first name I list, by the way.
Oh
Of
man.
influencers. Uh, yeah, I was so excited to get that out, and I'm glad.
Wow. Wow. Well, I can't wait to get a copy. And that is incredibly kind. I know you wrote that chapter all about different influencers, and I did not expect to be anywhere near the echelon of people that are doing amazing content around this, including yourself. But I'm very flattered. We mentioned that you've been on the show several times, but it has been a while. So can you remind us what exactly your health journey was and how you found the carnivore diet to begin with and how long it's been?
Sure, I'll try to keep this one brief because I've done it many times. Like many people, I'm going to be 60 next month. When I was about 35, 36, the weight was starting to come on, eating the standard American diet. Then I'm in my 40s. I tried so many different diets. So I, like many people, I'm like, let me try this thing called keto to lose weight. And it worked. And I did it for a year and I just felt amazing. But then I got a kidney stone because I didn't really look at the oxalates and all the anti-nutrients. So then I fine tuned it to ketovore and eventually where I am now, been doing this for over 2.5 years, carnivore. I'm close to 95% carnivore. I mean, I almost have nothing but meat, fish, and eggs and butter and tallow in my diet. And it has healed my lower back pain, has healed, put my atrial fibrillation, my AFib into remission, has taken away my depression, my mood swings, eye, ear, gums, skin. The list goes on and on. My long story goes on and on for hours. But it's just transformed my life so much that I cannot keep it to myself. As a
Yeah.
teacher, I'm just hardwired to share. And if somebody can benefit from this information and apply it to their specific conditions in their life and get the same benefits, that's the only reason I'm here and the reason I wrote this book. And it's
Yeah.
not about losing weight like I thought it was. It's about getting healthy, and the weight loss happens as a byproduct if you have to lose weight.
I love that. I told you off air that we updated your introduction based on the book. I did not update your age. I forget that you are almost 60. We said you were 58 in the introduction. Yeah, that's incredible. Since our first interview, I've been able to hang out with you and meet you in person in Austin, Texas for Hack Your Health conference, which was incredible. And I can tell, anybody who's watching will be able to tell immediately. Anybody who follows your channel will be able to tell. But for the people listening, you're incredibly healthy at 60 years old. You do not look like you're anywhere near 60. So thank you for sharing all those wonderful results that you've had with carnivore. It certainly it matches the results of so many people out there, including myself. And yeah, I want to talk about the contents of your book. You talk about in your book, as you get started, kind of how carnivore changes everything. And what were some of the key concepts you wanted to open the book up with?
Well, I wanted to explain to people who are in a fog, who are living their standard life, thinking they're doing what they're supposed to be doing because the commercials, the medical doctors, all of the information from the medical associations tell us to eat a lot of whole, healthy, heart healthy grains, to have a lot of seed oils, to not eat meat, all the myths that we've been taught. And yet people, and I was one of them, we started as you get older, we have less bandwidth to deal with all the things that we were able to deal with when we were younger. As we get older, it starts to hit us and people are feeling it. They're feeling like it's this, oh, I'm supposed to feel this way because I'm getting old. I'm supposed to have some joint pain and aches because I'm close to 60, or some people say I'm in my 40s or my 50s. And I wanted to address that in the book, that you're not supposed to feel that way. That is not normal. And we've chalked that up to being normal. So I wanted to expose a lot of the myths, which I did in my book. I wanted to talk about where they came from. Ansel keys, I broke it down into, the studies, the 7 country studies that was misrepresented. So many different areas, but I tried not to get too technical, but I wanted to just basically explain where this came from and to maybe somehow open somebody's eyes. Like, did you know this is not a conspiracy theory? This is fact. And I would list some of the facts that I didn't know, to be honest with you, until I learned them. So, again, as the teacher, I have to share this. I have to tell people. And then I also cite my references at the end of each chapter so people can find out where I got my information, which is important for people to know.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned those myths and those lies, and I get asked all the time. So I'll be very curious to hear your answer since you've done so much research about this. But do you think that some of the lies we've been fed about nutrition, you mentioned Dr. Ansel Keys and his research around cholesterol, do you think that those myths and lies were started with ill intent, or are they more continued with ill intent now that there are entire industries wrapped around some of these myths and lies?
My personal belief is that the intent at the beginning was for better health. President Eisenhower had the heart attack. People, they were looking for answers. What was causing these heart problems? And through cherry picking, which is what Ansel Keys did with his 7 country study, they they started out, I think, honestly trying to find the answer to make people healthy. But then, greed and money and influence got involved, and people were persuaded to make things look different than they were. And I believe that later on, in the boardrooms, people know exactly what's making people sick. Like Dr.
Mm.
Chapey often talks about this, and he gets real angry when he talks about it, and it really makes you think. You're like, well, wait a minute, the people today, are they seriously misleading me on purpose to hurt me so they can make money? And I think that most of the higher wigs, the people higher up top, are the ones in the boardrooms are actually making these decisions, and they're perpetuating these lies to keep us not sick, but also not healthy. So we can stay in that middle range where we eat their food, but we also need their medicine. And it's kind of this circular thing with big pharma and big food. And I do believe that it's on purpose nowadays. I think it started out with good intent, and then it got corrupted. I really do.
Mm. Yeah, well said. Can you bridge the gap between, the 60s, the 50s and 60s with Ansel Keys, and then also the myths and lies that the government then latched onto when they were making their guidelines?
The food pyramid came out in the 80s, I believe. Um,
Yeah, late 80s, early 90s.
Before that was the saturated fat myth, and then this, of course, cottonseed oil came out earlier than that, and we were switching over from animal fats to seed oils as an alternative, because what are we going to do with all of these cotton seeds? Instead of just using them to lubricate our machine equipment, maybe we can make food out of them. And they started doing that. It kind of looked like this shiny, white, pretty stuff that mimicked beef tallow, and they called it Crisco. And people started, we didn't know. People were not tested with this to see if it was going to be healthy or not. And the science wasn't out about what is a polyunsaturated fat. What is it doing to the body? We didn't know. There's where I think the honesty was evident back then. People didn't know, but then they were making so much money. And then when the science came in, what these oils are doing through inappropriate inflammation and oxidative stress, they just kind of quelled it and pushed it down because there's so much money being made in these products. And the whole food industry, the fast food industry, the ultra processed food industry. Have you seen that gigantic chart that lists the different food companies, and it breaks it down into all the different little micro sections? It's eye-opening, the tentacles, right, that the food industry got into. And it kind of started with the smoking as well. The Philip Morris and all of the tobacco companies kind of bought a lot of the food companies, and they used
That's right.
their their addiction model, their advertising model it's kind of so hard to explain in one discussion how we've been hijacked by big money, big pharma, big food.
Yeah.
And yeah, it started, I think it started in the 30s. And slowly, through World War II, there's a whole World War II thing with the kits and that they sent the soldiers. And then, into the 50s. And then we started seeing more heart attacks and more type 2 diabetes in the 50s and the 60s. And then they came out with more things uh, like the pyramid in the 80s. And now we have the My Plate, I think, in the 90s or the 2000s, where they take a plate and they divide it up and say, have so many servings of fruits and vegetables and so many servings of grains, and to make it similar to the food pyramid, but it's basically saying the same message. They
Yeah.
want you to have a balanced diet of everything, even the inflammatory plant stuff and ultra processed stuff.
Yeah. Now, when I think about the history, I go back and to be fair, like when Crisco was invented, like animal fats and dairy were a bit problematic. They were a lot of production in big cities, and people were getting sick some of the time from eating animal fats because of the production and everything that was going on. And so now you have this very well marketed product. They sent all the moms in America cookbooks on how to use Crisco that was created in stainless steel vats, and it is that clean white kind of fat that you're talking about. And yeah, you follow the history of that, and to see that they were the ones that funded the American Heart Association in the late 1940s. It was just a sleepy little organization trying to decide how they were going to research heart attacks, which were on the rise. It hadn't been a thing 50 years earlier, and now it certainly was and was increasing, and all the history of this. And you mentioned, even like studying some of this stuff. We look at the Minnesota coronary trial. Well, they actually did study cohorts of people eating animal fats at the time versus eating the plant fats at the time. And they studied it for several years. And it was a randomized controlled trial, the trial that everybody says that you should do to be able to show something. The plant fats, the seed oils, like you mentioned, did worse. The animal fats did better for people. And like you said, they just suppressed the data. They didn't even release it for like 16 years. When they did, it was in this tiny little journal. And it wasn't until very recently, within this decade, that a journalist was like, where is all this stuff? And finally contacted the son of the father who did all the research and found all the data from the study that was buried in a basement in Minnesota. It's insane.
Right, right. Nina Teicholz talks about this in her book, The Big Fat Surprise.
Yep.
It's crazy, and you don't want to believe it because the lie is so big. You've heard of that phrase, the lie is so big, people are going to believe it. And that's how big and long, how long this lie has been perpetuated. And I think about all of the complexities and there's so many parts to this, and it can get extremely complicated and frustrating, but really it's just really, really simple. If we just push away all the noise, which is what I try to do with my book, and say, just eat what we're supposed to eat. Just eat meat, fat, salt, water, butter, add some fish if you want, add some organ meat if you want, and everything comes back to the way the body is supposed to function. If you just forget all the noise out there, it can get so complicated with all the noise, and people believe certain things and don't believe certain. Then we get political, all the politics comes in, people start arguing and fighting. If we just go back to basics and eat our ancestrally appropriate foods, the way our ancestors ate for hundreds of thousands of years before it all got changed in the late 1800s, our body heals, our hormones level out, our blood sugars level, everything, all of our organs rest instead of constant, because they suggest that we should have multiple meals a day, many meals, many little meals, and a lot of them are carbohydrate and seed oil laden. And when we stop that, my gosh, and a little bit of fasting, uh, they say it's a miracle, but I don't think it. I think it's a miracle, but really it's what we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be in this state of amazing health that we call ourselves Superman, but it's just normal. I don't know if that makes sense, but
No, that makes perfect sense.
how I
Uh,
feel. I feel
yeah.
superhuman.
Yeah, absolutely. You look superhuman, like I said earlier. You write a whole chapter about not only what we've already discussed, the seed oils, but some of the other big offenders. You mentioned carbohydrates. Can you tell us the sugar story, the grain story, how those things kind of got worked into our diet to begin with at the quantities that they are now, and why that's such a big problem today?
I think it started with that food pyramid too. It was starting to come in the 50s and the 60s, but as soon as that food pyramid came out, I remember it as a kid. I remember seeing, I was taught that in elementary school and middle school, that food pyramid. What's at the bottom of that pyramid is you see pictures of it too. So they're very good at visual. Grain, pasta, rice, bread. It's been pushed. Look at the aisles in the grocery store, an entire left and right aisle of cereal. And that's another wormhole we could go down about the cereal and Kellogg and religion and Seventh-day Adventists. And it's crazy. When I learned about how that started, I couldn't believe it. I said, that's not true. I had to go do my own research. I said, that's one of those conspiracy theories. And it's not. It's not. We were pushed this relentlessly, that heart healthy, they put in front of it, whole, as in whole's better than refined, grains are better for your health, that they carry nutrition, that they're good, the fiber's good for your intestines and your gut health. All these lies to sell their product because the product's cheap. It's very cheap to make, and they can get an enormous profit off of just a box of cereal or, box of spaghetti or whatever.
Yeah.
It,
Well, okay, I'm not going to pass up an opportunity to go down that rabbit hole and learn about Kellogg and the Seventh-day
uh,
Adventist because it's one of my favorites. We got
is
to
it?
talk about that. Tell us some of the research that was absolutely mind-blowing about the cereal industry and how that got started.
And I didn't discuss this in my book that much, really at all. I probably should have. The book, if I continue to talk about everything I want, that's why I'm writing another book soon because I've got too many
There you
things
go.
to talk about. So I had to cut that out. But basically, in the late 1800s, John Harvey Kellogg, he had a sanitarium for people who wanted to get fit and lose weight. He had a lot of like amazing, wealthy, well-to-do, well-known clients that would pay to go there, and they would exercise, and he would tell them to eat this stuff, which is all fiber and grain. And then they would have a lot of, uh, they would put bags in them and clean them out constantly. It was ridiculous. And the purpose was a belief from his religion, Seventh day Adventists, correct me or clarify if I get any part of this wrong, that if we subdue the testosterone and the estrogen, if we subdue the natural hormones that you get when you eat meat, then you are less likely to be sexually promiscuous, and boys will stop masturbating and will not want to go and rape girls. I mean, it was, the whole point was to bring down the promiscuity in a time, if you look at the history, when they were also trying to get rid of alcohol in our country, the alcohol movement, so the temperance movement. So there was all kind of part of the history, and it perpetuated from there. And there's a huge organization in Australia with I think it's called Sanitarium
Yeah.
Food
Yep. Correct.
that's related to this. It's just the whole vegan and plant-based movement came out of this. And I honestly think if we were to ask these people, where are you getting your research from? It goes back to John Harvey Kellogg.
Well said. Yeah, that's well told. I that's
Freaked you
exactly
out
the way
too when you
I.
found
That's
out about the sex part?
Oh my goodness, it was nuts. And you think, I brought this up several times on this show. You think that, okay, this is a very obscure religion. I don't know any Seventh-day Adventist. Maybe somebody listening is a Seventh-day Adventist. It's fine. They're not a major player in the religion scene. So you think like, okay, well, whatever John Harvey Kellogg did in the late 1800s, that doesn't really apply to me. But they were the ones. They established the dietetic schools. They were the ones that wrote the textbooks. They put a study out in like 2018 or 2019. The great thing about the Adventists is they'll tell you, they're like, this study says
Proud of.
all the influence they have. They're proud of it. They want you to know that they control all these radio stations and TV channels, and they're funding all these schools and like all the Loma Linda stuff. And like they're wanting to tell you that they've influenced the nutrition scene and have been doing so for over a century. It's just so wild to think that, that one person, the sanitariums, like you mentioned, what most people consider like walking into a hospital today, a lot of those original ideas came from sanitariums. He was the first one. John Harvey Kellogg was the first one to wear like a white coat as a doctor. That's where those ideas came from, that they would still have as much influence today as they did then. It's mind-boggling.
More today. It's even more. It's kind of because it's spidered out. It is
Yeah.
even.
Yep. Wow. Okay. So we've talked a lot about the vices and the lies and the myths. Let's talk about the good stuff. Tell us why you write about healthy fats being absolutely healing and the power of protein, especially as it pertains to animal products. Why are the fats and proteins that come in animal products so good for us?
Oh my gosh. Um, Well, I talk about it in context with the unhealthy fats, all right, because they're prevalent. That's what's in almost all of the ultra processed food of today. Healthy fats are beef tallow, it's king. From ruminant meats, any kind of heavy saturated, it's mostly saturated. There's like maybe 65, 70% saturated. Then there's some unsaturated, and then there's monounsaturated, and there's always a little bit of polyunsaturated. People don't realize that there's a little bit of polyunsaturated in ruminant meats, but just a very small, like 4 to 6%, compared to, canola oil or soybean oil, which is basically 80 to 90% polyunsaturated. Um, these fats are nutrition. They carry the fat soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K so that our body can absorb them. We don't get that with the other fats. Um, Stearic acid, butter, the word butter comes from butyrate, beta hydroxybutyrate, which is a ketone body, the major one in our blood. These are healthy, mostly saturated animal fats that come from animals. Even pork lard is amazing. Bacon grease, chicken schmaltz, turkey, duck, egg yolks. And the one that a lot of people I don't think get enough of comes from fatty fish. These are our omega-3 fats. They're not saturated. They're monounsaturated, but they're very, very healthy with our DHA and EPA for our brain health and everything. To get a balance of these animal fats, even the healthy unsaturated ones from fish oils, this is our nutrition. This is our energy. This helps create ketones from fatty acids. It also gives us nourishment. A lot of people think fat makes us fat. And I wanted to dispel that myth in this book as well. Uh, a lot of people, and I believed it too, that if you eat that fat on the plate, that makes the fat on the body. And that is a myth. So, what is it? It's nutrition, it's energy, and it's essential. You have to have it along with protein. And then I
Yeah.
do a section on protein, like you brought up.
Yeah.
So, protein now?
Yeah, let's go to protein. A lot of people say on a carnivore diet it should be very high fat and kind of controlled for protein. A lot of people say you need a higher amount of protein on a carnivore diet. Like, where do you fall as far as that, and what is the importance of protein on a carnivore diet?
We don't store protein. We can store fat, we can store carbs. We don't store protein. We have to consume protein every single day. Protein comes from the 21 or 22 amino acids that are in animal products. They're also in plants, but not all of them are in plants. And you're missing some essential amino acids to make complete protein if you eat absolutely no animal meat. So that's why carnivore diet is so healthy. And you're getting it bioavailably almost 100% in animal foods versus plant foods. Whatever protein might be in there is going to be locked up by the oxalates, the lectins, the phytates, the fiber. So we have to eat protein every day, especially as we get older. We need more protein as we age. How much protein? Everybody has a formula per pound of of ideal body weight. I don't ever go into that much because it's different for everybody, and everybody's body chemistry is different. But you have to have protein, and whatever the ratio is. When you're first starting a carnivore diet, you want to have, I say, more fat than protein. And then as you become fat adapted, keto adapted, maybe 50-50, or maybe even a little less fat and a little more protein, but you have to have your protein along with your fat. Protein builds our muscles. It's part of the structure of everything, like cholesterol is. We must have our protein for making everything actually in our body: hair, skin, nails, teeth, just everything. So, yeah, protein's essential, fat's essential. What is not essential is carbohydrates. And that's another myth that, again, I break in my book, that I break in my videos. The reason we say that carbohydrates are not essential, we don't need to consume a grain of carbohydrates because our liver, and I found out our liver and our kidneys make just the amount that we need, and it's an on-demand basis. So if you deprive your body of external glucose, starch, carbohydrates, the body provides you with exactly what you need, but no more. Because when we flood it with more, like in foods, then we tax our body. It's in a toxic state. And then now I'm talking about carbs. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's great. No, that's perfect. It's a good point because most people will say like even if you eat exclusively protein and fat, you still have a certain level of blood sugar. There's sugar in your blood at any given time. It's the reason why I promised we wouldn't talk about hockey on the show, but we're going to talk about hockey. It's the reason why I can go into my Monday hockey game around noon completely fasted and I don't eat afterwards for several hours because my body just makes exactly the right amount of sugar that I need. I don't have to try to think how much am I going to use? Am I going to get too much, too little, whatever? When you're relying on that system of gluconeogenesis, your body making new glucose, it just makes the exact right amount. I always marvel at how perfect that system is.
It really is. It's amazing how perfect that is. And when you teach your mitochondria to use fat for fuel, it's more efficient.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
that's called fat adaptation. This is why people who first start the carnivore diet feel lethargic. They feel terrible because their body's not used to the lower glucose level. They're used to flooding their system with tons and tons of blood sugar from food. And it takes a little adaptation time. So there's a little withdrawal there too, not just the electrolytes, but it's adjusting to normal sugar levels instead of, the flood that we normally give it.
Yeah. Well, so some of those signs that you mentioned, like those are, it's not fun to go through that adjustment period, but those are the signs that show you that your body's changing, your metabolism is changing. And so, what kind of tips and tricks do you give for somebody who's a beginner on this? Or what kinds of animal food should they be focusing on? You mentioned all kinds of different ones. Is there some that are better than others? And what kind of things can we coach people on to help make that adjustment period a little bit easier?
Before I do that, I wanted to talk about something that I talked about in my book related to this more specifically is the way we view those withdrawal symptoms. We need to not view them as withdrawal symptoms so much as that's a great sign that your body is leveling out, it's adapting, it's adjusting. If you weren't going through that much, then you have to wonder what's going on in your body. Your body is repairing itself. And so those are good signs, but just keep going, don't give into it. To For somebody who's just starting, there's two ways to do it. And I did a video on this. You know how like jumping into a swimming pool real fast, freezing cold water, or getting in very slowly. And everybody's personality is different. And I know people that love to jump right in, get it over with. They want to start the carnivore diet, throw out all the sugar, carbs, and seed oil, and go through the withdrawal of no sugar and lack of electrolytes. And I don't advise that, but some people, that's how their brain is wired, and they want to do it that way. I recommend doing it slower, taking out the seed oils right away, because there's no harm in doing that. There's actually a benefit, but very slowly take out the plants because your body is used to a certain level of oxalates. And the lectins and the phytates we can get rid of, but your body stores oxalates. I know we both interviewed Sally K. Norton. She's the expert on this. And Monique Attinger, my gosh. Oxalates are there. And when you stop giving your body the same amount of oxalates, the body says, okay, let's get rid of them now. We've got too much. And that's when the kidney stones happen and the arthritic pain and all the oxalate dumping problems happen when you just stop. So I do recommend easing down off of the plant matter as you start carnivore so that your body can adjust. And if you do get oxalate dumping symptoms, to actually add a little bit more in, like drink some black tea. That's soluble oxalate, and the body will see that and will slow the dumping down. As for electrolyte imbalances, when you stop all the sugar, your body starts flushing out all the moisture, all the liquid in your body. And along with the water go the sodium, the magnesium, and the potassium. And then you're deficient and you get body aches and terrible headaches and cramps. And some people call that the keto flu. So all you have to do at the beginning is use an electrolyte mix. I use Redmond Relight at the beginning, and I would make an electrolyte powder mix. As you become adapted, you don't need to do that. Your body holds on to what it has, and everything's balanced and running the way it's supposed to. But this getting started, it's very similar. I know this sounds, I don't want to offend anybody, but it sounds like you're coming off of a drug When you get off of the standard world diet, it's almost like you were on drugs and you're coming off of something addictive, and now your body hurts and cramps and aches and maybe bloating and diarrhea and all these things that the people that come off of heroin are going through. Um, what does that tell you about that food?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's very well explained. I think that will help a lot of beginners out there. And one thing I noticed, another thing you write about, and you mentioned earlier, is a lot of people come to the carnivore diet for the weight loss. But again, you write about the other things that you notice besides the weight loss. This seems to be the only diet that I've ever found where people start because they want to lose weight, but they continue for so many other reasons. Why is it important for you to communicate that weight loss is fine and that's going to be great, but you really want to be doing this for other reasons?
You want to do it for health. You want to do it for all the healthy reasons to get your body, your hormones, all of the levels in your body, your blood sugar levels, your insulin levels, everything back to balance, to neutral. And when you get your body metabolically healthy, and that's the goal, other things fall into place. Oops. So if one of them was that you're obese, it just falls off. You don't even have to think about it. The weight comes off. If you needed to lose it, it just happens because it's not healthy to be obese. So the body knows that. Now that the body's healthy, the body gets rid of the unhealthy amount of fat cells. One thing that some people talk about, and they are people who have been underweight most of their life. They're under fat. They have trouble gaining weight. This does the same thing. It actually will help you pull on muscle. You'll build muscle from protein and working out, and you'll actually gain the weight that you've been wanting to gain. So it's a fat optimization. I hate the word diet, way of eating. Diet is misconstrued as Jenny Craig. It's misconstrued as, Weight Watchers.
Yeah.
I use the word diet too, but I don't want to confuse people. I have some friends that I used to teach with, we're still very close, and they saw that I wrote a book, and they bought my book and they can't wait to get started. And I'm thinking, oh boy, I hope this works. um, and I don't want them to think of it as a diet. It's it's life. It's the way we're supposed to eat, and it's going to give you your life back. And that's my main idea of this book is this way of eating gives you your life back, and you're happy and you're productive. And my God, I would never have written a book, Casey. I My mind was not that focused and centered and articulate until I got ketones in my brain, until I started feeding myself. And the confidence too. I never would have had the amount of confidence that I have. Uh, I so totally believe in this. I mean, this is my life now because it's my health, it's my wealth. So I can't sell it enough. And that's another thing. There's nothing to sell. There's no money involved. Just
It's true.
knowledge. Just knowledge.
Yep. Yeah, this is true. That's amazing. And that's where I wanted to go with this conversation next, is more along the mindset piece of things, especially with the sustainability of a carnivore diet. I found that once you get over that hump of, sorting things out, figuring out what to eat, for me, it feels very sustainable. I can do this for the rest of my life. Supposedly, I've done this for 6 years. I feel great. I really enjoy it. What kinds of things do you write about as far as that maintainability? You talked about, this is a way of life. It's not just a diet that you're on temporarily. Do you find it difficult for some people to have that kind of mentality? Maybe they're using a carnivore diet for an event coming up and they think like, oh, I'm going to go do this event, and then after that, I'm going to go back to eating normal. What's been your experience as far as that goes?
Last several chapters of my book, I talk about that exactly, how to get around the world around us and how to inspire other people once you've got this down pat. And it's basically you're changing your brain wiring. Your mind has changed. You don't look at food the same way that you used to. It's not entertainment anymore. It's not there to give me a dopamine hit anymore. And when you go to parties and events, you see it for what it really is. And even in those events, you don't want to partake. It's not that you have to use your willpower and grin and bear it through it and pat yourself on the back if you made it or not. It's just you've changed your way of thinking so much by understanding the facts, the reality about what nutrition is, that you go to these events and you see that spread of things that we don't eat anymore, and you just see them for what they are. You don't see them the way you saw them before. And that happens when you re-educate yourself,
Yeah.
when you unlearn the lies and the myths, and you relearn the facts that we should have known all along.
Mm.
Ever seen those unlearn, rethink memes? I love those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Just basically that. Let's unlearn these things. And then when you do that, the switch flips in your brain, and you don't see food and social gatherings. You see everything differently, and you're not afraid
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
Confidently do this, and then people. I talk about this in my last couple chapters. People will come to you. You don't have to evangelize. You don't have to shout it from the rooftops. People are going to start seeing you over time, your body, your confidence, your mind, your attitude. And when they're ready, then they come and ask you questions,
Yeah.
because they're never going to be ready until they're ready, if
I
that
love
makes
that.
sense.
Are you familiar with the carnivore rabbi, Evan Moffick?
I spoke with him once or twice on a live show. Yes, I've seen him. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, he's awesome and has wonderful energy, and he's made very similar points that you have made, that like he's just like you, like a teacher. That's his entire job and calling in life, and that's all he wants to do is like share content and help people, inspire people. But he says the same thing, like you can't evangelize this kind of stuff. You lead by example, and when people are ready, you can help them, you can teach them, you can put out content and that kind of thing. That's about as far as it goes. And the other thing he kind of talked about that I really appreciated, as far as the social events go, like you think you're going to a social event and you're going to be the sore thumb, and grandma is going to be upset with you if you don't have the cake, and people are going to notice you're doing this weird thing. And his whole point was like, some people might have questions, but people don't care about what you are doing. They care about themselves. They care about what they are doing. And if you're in the background and you don't eat a piece of cake, pretty much nobody notices, at least in my experience. I can hold my phone and take pictures. I can do other things. I can have conversations, and really, like, people don't care. They care how they look. They care what their appearance is. They're not looking at you and judging you more than people think. And sorry if that busts your bubble as far as your ego, but that's the really freeing thought, is you can do this socially, and it's not that big of a deal.
You're absolutely right. And one of the tricks I told people is, okay, they're passing around the birthday cake, right? Take the cake, hold it in your hand, hold the fork. Everybody's doing it. Sing the song, put the cake down. Nobody knows you didn't eat it.
Nobody knows.
It's not, we make it too complicated. And the I did an interview with a young man, and I don't know if he wants me to talk about him, so I don't want to give his name, but he talked about how hard it was with his family, and he always gives in because of the peer pressure of his family. And I was trying to give him a little boost in confidence to stand strong and not let his family bully him. And he's not there yet, but I'm hoping he'll get there, because it is important to stand for yourself. There are some people that have a lot more pressure to eat a certain way. And it's important that you take control of that in your own household, what you bring into your house. And if you don't have control over certain things, because people live in your home and they eat a certain way, you can partition it. And, have your stuff in one cupboard and their stuff in another cupboard, and then you never have to look at it. There are tricks around some of the troubled areas that some people are struggling with.
Yeah, good point. And you're so good at explaining some of those things and giving those practical tips. We've been kind of riffing off of carnivore as a lifestyle. You write about the other components of this lifestyle, including movement, getting out and getting sunlight. I know you're a huge fan of getting on your bike and biking around the beach where you live. You've got a lovely Zoom background right now that is not unlike where you normally live
I know
anyway.
that. That's my I wish it was my backyard.
It looks very similar to what it would be anyway. But talk to us a little bit about the other things that go along with the carnivore lifestyle that you like to promote as well.
And I have a chapter in my book about grounding and sunlight and earthing, meditating. So let's talk about meditating first. Meditating is you're connecting with your soul, and it can be in the form of prayer. if you're spiritual, whatever religion. It can be in the form of mindfulness, where you do deep breathing and counting and visualization. It can be just in the form of counting stock, being thankful for so many minutes a day. Take 10 or 15 minutes and just think about all the great things that you're thankful for and focus on that. There's so many ways to meditate. It doesn't have to be where you're sitting with your legs crossed and you're doing, the stereotype type of a meditation where you're humming. Meditation's powerful. Um, you think about, our mind controls basically everything in our body. So when we get that meditation in place, and it's very simple to do, just some deep breathing and relaxing, that's number one. Number two, sunlight is vital, especially early morning sunlight, because we're getting a certain part of the infrared light, the light coming into our eyes, telling our circadian rhythm it's time to be awake, it's time to be up. It helps to make the melatonin for later in the night, which makes us drowsy at the right time. It sets that rhythm. And it's also the sebum in our skin. It's making the hormone vitamin D3. It's making that for us. Um, it's just sunlight. I feel energized when I'm in the sun. And I'm lucky to live here in South Florida, where I can get it almost every day. And I love it. I don't burn anymore because I haven't eaten seed oils in 6.5 years. Literally, I go right to tan. Now, I don't stay out for hours and hours, but I love to get my sunlight every day. And I do feel energized when I get it. And I'm sad if we have a rainy day. Go figure. And then, grounding or earthing. Our body is an electrical system, our spinal cord, all our nerve endings. That we touch the ground. We're just like when you take a post and you ground it, for grounding your house, for the currency that goes in your wiring. We're grounding our body. And when we touch the earth, uh, it's kind of doing the same thing. It lowers our blood pressure a little bit. It calms so many parts of the brain. It's relaxing and it's healthy. Lower cortisol levels. There's so much research that's coming out. It's new, grounding. So new stuff is just coming out about it. And I know you're a big advocate. You have like sandals and shoes, and some people buy sheets that are connected to the grounding rod. I'm looking at those. And uh, if we do a little bit of each one of these, as well as eating properly and getting good uninterrupted sleep, we're hitting everything. And you're going to have a well-rounded health it pays you back in spades. It's better than winning a multi-billion-dollar lottery.
I love
Seriously,
that.
it's money. I mean, money's
Yeah.
great to buy stuff with it, but health is like gold.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Yeah, I do. So my favorite sandals are called Earth Runners, and they do have a little grounding like copper piece in the bottom. I'm sitting now on a grounding mat that does plug into the grounded outlet part. As far as those two things go, I would rather be barefoot on the ground. That's more ideal. I'd rather be sitting outside than sitting in here in my second bedroom and sitting on the grounding mat. You could take either one of those away from me and I'd be okay. You couldn't take away the sandal. I love Earth Runner sandals. The grounding piece, whether they do much, I'm not sure, but I try to be barefoot anyway, like I said. But dude, I have to tell you, grounding sheets if you took those away from me, I would be very, very upset. They are amazing. I get such good deep sleep when I'm sleeping on my grounded sleep. Oh yeah. Yeah. So just so you know, worth the investment. And I do want to go back and just clarify something. You're out in the sun and not getting a burn because you're using so much sunscreen, correct?
Uh, I just slather all those terrible chemicals all over my body, and I go
Great
out
idea.
all white and everything, and then I sit under an umbrella. No, that's what I
Uh,
used to do. That's what my family does. Recently, when I saw them, they're oh my God, I put the hat on and I have, and I'm like, no, I don't even wear sunglasses anymore. Get
Me
this.
neither.
Hey,
Me
I
neither.
wear them one time if I'm driving east and it's low enough in the morning. I don't want to have a glare, so I get in an accident. I put the sunglasses on. Same thing going west in the evening. Other than that, I want the sun to go in my eyes, and it doesn't hurt like it used to.
Yep.
It's
100%.
it's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that,
100%.
you know, that's another topic is seed oils and our skin, if we want to go there.
Yeah, and once you get the seed oils out, you will be able to tan up. I'm a ginger, man. Like I get a
Are
red beard and I can be out in the sun during the solstice at high noon, and I don't burn anymore. And yeah, you got to be smart about it. Like I don't stay out there forever. I know when the sun is getting a little bit intense for me, and I do prefer it. Like you said, like when the sun is low on the horizon. But the best sunscreen is a good tan, building up your melanin slowly over time, getting used to the sun in the winter months when the sun is lower, and you start to build that stuff up. It then protects you later on. The thing I just wish people knew about sunscreen is it allows you to be in the sun longer and not get a burn, but still be exposed when your skin is not ready for it. It's like the exact opposite thing that you want, and people are just so convinced that you have to slather it on to do anything. It's like that's the last thing I would do. Like we're gonna be this weekend in southern Utah. We're doing a lot of really exposed hikes. I bought a cooling long sleeve shirt that I can put on if we're out in a hike and I'm done with the sun. I can throw that on. Use shade, whatever, use anything other than sunscreen. So I'm glad that you write about that.
Very cool.
And all this stuff is very practical. And so I'm glad you wrote the companion workbook. What kinds of things did you include in the workbook to go along with the book as well?
I took each chapter and I just turned it into a question answer session from the chapter. And I asked people what they thought about different parts. Write your thoughts. How can I apply this to my life? Write down three things, how you can apply this to your life, three ways you can change this in your life. And I just basically went chapter by chapter. And I did it right when I finished the book and I was waiting for the book to be published. I'm like, well, I could do this workbook. It's almost done. Because I wrote lots and lots of curriculum over the years being a teacher. That part was effortless for me. Writing the book was a little different. But once I had the book written, I'm like, this other thing just wrote itself. The workbook wrote itself. So it's not for everybody, but it's for people that really love the book and they want to apply it and actually make the changes in their life more acutely, more specifically, and thoughtfully, mindfully, so they write things down. It's like journaling. When you journal, you're writing your thoughts down. It becomes more practical because you wrote it.
Yeah, I agree. I would say like if you handed me a blank notebook and said go ahead and journal, that thing would be blank in a year, in 2 years, in 5 years. When I got a handbook specifically for Stoicism when I was studying Stoicism, and it was a handbook, I think it was a handbook for new Stoics or something, a modern Stoic, something along those lines. But it had prompts. It had like something to read, and then it had like a cue, and you had to think about it. And there was like topics. Like I wrote in all of it, like that was easy. It gave me those prompts, and it was so much easier to do journaling when there was cues and that thoughtfulness to it. And so yeah, I really like that you wrote it in that style. Yeah, there we go.
I have prompts, and then I have questions, and then I have places to write down. It's a whole workbook.
Yeah,
It's I feel that when you read something, it just goes on the bookshelf like every other. I have lots of books. I love
right.
my books too. Some of them I've read more than once about this way of eating. I don't want to be just another book. I wanted it to be applicable.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. If you're listening and not watching, it was what John was describing, where there's prompts and different things, and then space to write responses to questions, which I really like. And we've already alluded to this, but like you said, we can maybe just reiterate this as you close the book, talking about carrying your flame. How do you want people to be thinking about this is an amazing diet. This changed my life. I feel so much better. Gut issues, mental issues, whatever changed for you, including the weight loss, the fat loss. How can people find ways to share this message in a way that is not off-putting and that can actually help people?
It would be through your life, through living, being present, being confident, being available for people when they have questions, and just not shouting it from the rooftops like we said before. That's basically what it is. And you're ready to go. If somebody has a question, you're ready. You have so many things to share, but you don't want to turn people off. But when they come to you, the student finds the teacher when they're ready, just like I found this when I was ready, and you found this when you were ready. The student will come to the teacher when they're ready. Just be ready. And part of my book explains how to become ready. And that is to arm yourself with the knowledge of what nutrition is and just all of the information that got you there so that when a question comes, you're ready. I have a lot of people and books that I can refer people to, sources. I also talk about community, huge in the book. It's vital to have a support group and to share your experiences and to get encouragement and backup, because that very powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Spoken like a true teacher, John LaSpina, the carnivore teacher. The community piece couldn't be more true. That's very obvious when I get to travel to conferences that you're at, and meeting you and meeting all of our mutual friends who are just open arms, cannot wait to bask in that energy of everybody just feeling amazing and creating that healing, going back out in the world to share a message however we can. You're a consummate teacher. I just absolutely enjoy our friendship and enjoy all the content that you put out. Very much looking forward to getting my hands on this book as soon as possible. For now, John LaSpina, where can people go to find you and connect with you and your work, and where can they pick up the book?
Thank you, Casey. You can pick up the book, A Carnivore Teacher. It's just called, I just decided how to name it. I'm going to name it my name, my handle for branding purposes. The Carnivore Teacher. It's on Amazon. You can get Kindle version, you can get the paperback version, you can get the workbook, and eventually, if I can get this approved, the audiobook will be out at some point. And I'm on YouTube as Carnivore Teacher 1965, and Facebook and Threads and X, and it's just all the same. I put the same video out and the same content out on all of those. I'm going to Hack Your Health in November, and I just did an interview with the head of Hack Your Health, and she gave me $100 off link that anybody, if you go onto my YouTube website, you can put John 1965, and you can get $100 off your ticket. And so people,
Oh, that's amazing. That was from Robin.
yeah, it's from Robin, and people have already gotten back to me and said, I used it, it worked. So excited.
Amazing. Amazing. She's such a sweetheart. And luckily for you, Hack Your Health is in your backyard this year.
But yeah, I just get in the car. It's a couple hours away this time. I don't have to play.
Not too bad. Yeah, not too bad. For anybody that was thinking it was, springtime in Austin, they have moved it to Florida, and it's going to be later in the year. So just be aware of that. But yeah, that's great. You have that discount code. We'll be sure to link that in the notes as well. But for now, John, thank you so very much. You're an incredible teacher. And even though you're retired from your teaching gig, you're continuing to teach and inspire so many people out there. And the book is a huge piece of that. And so just always so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for our friendship, and grateful that you would take time out of your busy life to come chat with us again today. We really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me again.
Absolutely. Such a pleasure. And this has been another episode of Boundless Body Radio. That was a good fade out, if I do say so myself. Awesome job, man. It was great.
You are such a freaking pro. Do you know that? You are. I go to the gym almost every morning. I put my earbuds in, and first on my YouTube list is Casey Ruff. And I'm like, oh, damn, he doesn't have a longer version. He's got these little short versions. I got to wait till tomorrow, whatever. And the longer one comes out, and I'm like, I listen to the whole thing. And I'm telling you, your interviews are just phenomenal. All right.
It's too kind.
I started to interview a few people, as you know.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Like, I interviewed you, and I'm like, this is not so easy. How the hell do these people do this? Because they go off topic. I probably did that with you, but some of these people, I'll ask them a question, and they go way off the other direction, and they won't shut up, and I can't get them back. How do you do that? How do you?
It's tough, dude. It's tough. Oh my goodness, yeah. It's both ways. Like, I have people that will do that, and I've got the other people that will like, yeah, tell us about your carnivore story. Oh yeah, I did carnivore, and it was really good. What did you change? Oh, just ate a bunch of meat.
Oh God, that's got to be hard.
Give me something. You're amazing, dude. That was a great episode. Awesome content. You're just the best.
You are too. Appreciate you. I feel like you're my friend, and I've known you for years.
I feel exactly the same way about you. Yeah, seeing you last year was just like, oh, there he is. There's my buddy. two introverts in this conference, and we're going to make Irish goodbyes at some point. And
we've got to spend next time. Next time we see you.
Absolutely. Dude, great to see you. Congratulations on the book, and thanks for doing this. I'll send this to you as soon as I get it done.
Thank you so much, Casey. Have a good one. Enjoy.
Hey, thank you. Okay. See you, my friend.